Hello, everyone. On behalf of Cfa Society of Sri Lanka, I would like to welcome you all for our new webinar series titled Join the Global Network of Cfa Charterholders. I am Aruna Alvi, CEO of Cfa Society Sri Lanka, and I'll be your host for today's webinar. The webinar is organized to explore the opportunities and the value of the Chartered Financial Analyst designation globally. As you may be aware, the Cfa program as a global gold standard qualification for the investment management profession offered internationally by Cfa Institute enjoys regulatory recognition from numerous regulatory bodies across the world. Today, we are very pleased that we have an eminent panel of speakers who will shed light on the values of the Cfa charter path and the values that one would gain by joining a global network, as well as values that could be offered to employers through our global gold standard qualification. Ladies and gentlemen, before I move on to our next item in the agenda, let me also acknowledge and thank our valuable sponsors and partners. I would like to thank Platinum sponsor, Colombo Stock Exchange, our silver sponsors, Equity Stockbrokers and Capital Alliance, our print media partner, Daily FT, our supporting organizations, ACCA, BCS Sri Lanka section, FITIS, ISACA, and SLASCOM. With that note, it is my pleasure to invite Mr. Dinesh Varusavitarana, President of Cfa Society Sri Lanka, to formally welcome you. Dinesh, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Aruna. On behalf of the board of Cfa Society Sri Lanka, I would like to welcome you all to this webinar organized as part of a series of webinars we are organizing to promote the Cfa qualification in Sri Lanka and as well as to educate the market. Cfa Sri Lanka is celebrating its 20th anniversary this year. We are a society formed to support the local charter holders as well as the local Cfa candidates. From humble beginnings 20 years ago, we have today grown to be a society which represents over 250 charter holders resident in Sri Lanka and a candidate basis of over 500 at present. This year is a momentous year for us, where we will be celebrating our 20th anniversary. And this webinar series is a series of events that we are organizing to celebrate our anniversary as well as to contribute to the development of the financial markets in Sri Lanka. I would like to thank the panel today for taking time out of their busy schedules to be with us and share their experiences with all the participants today. So let me hand over to Aruna to take over the rest of the proceedings. Over to you, Aruna.
Thank you, Dinesh, for those introductory remarks. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our moderator for the day. It's none other than Tharindu Amarasekara. Tharindu Amarasekara is a senior lecturer at the Postgraduate Institute of Management, specializing in finance, marketing, communication skills, and digital disruptions. He is also the founder of the award-winning digital agency Tech and a national public speaking champion in Toastmasters. He also hosts the weekend business talk show, Business on TV1. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tharindu Amarasekara, who will moderate the rest of the session. Tharindu, over to you.
Thank you very much, Aruna, and it's an absolute pleasure to be joining you and the eminent panel of speakers today. A very warm welcome to all those who are joining us, despite it being an opportunity for people to get about some kind of their normal life. It's encouraging to see the participation that we have here today. Also, a big thank you to all the speakers who have made time from their busy schedules to address this forum. It's absolutely my honor to be the moderator for Cfa. The potential to offer. I think we need to take a step back. If you look at the current global economic climate induced by a pandemic, people have been looking for means and ways beyond the full row. We saw almost $1 trillion worth of FDIs taking place, and the whole finance more than $10 billion globally over the next few years. So financial analysis is one of those areas with tremendous potential. And for any professional, maybe a finance background professional, maybe a non-finance background professional, but for any professional who is planning to venture into this financial analysis field, I think it's a given that Cfa is definitely not just your passport, but your visa and your ticket to the acme of being a successful financial analyst. And today's event and the webinar is intended to give you an idea about what Cfa has to offer you, so that with that by being equipped with that right knowledge, you will be, and by knowing the benefits that it has to offer for you, I'm quite sure you will be in a position to make the most of your career opportunities as well. It is my duty to introduce the speakers for this evening, and let me first introduce the first speaker, Dinesh Varusavitana. Who is a Cfa charter holder and also the president of the Cfa Society Sri Lanka. Dinesh has been the president of Cfa Society Sri Lanka since 2020. Prior to being appointed as the president, he served as the vice president, secretary, and treasurer of the society. So he's indeed a veteran in this community. Dinesh is a finance professional with and Australia. Dinesh has been with the International Finance Corporation, a member of the World Bank Group for the last 8 years, leading investments in the financial sector in Sri Lanka. Dinesh holds a bachelor's degree in economics and management from the University of London, a master's degree in financial economics from the University of Colombo, and he is a chartered accountant, a chartered management accountant, and a chartered financial analyst. He also holds a postgraduate diploma in marketing from the Chartered Institute of Marketing, the UK. Dinesh, it's an absolute pleasure to have you this evening in this panel. Dinesh, I would like to open the forum by requesting you to speak to the participants about a brief introduction to the Cfa qualification, because many of them, having done various other finance and non-financial qualifications, maybe academic or professional qualifications, they might come to Cfa with a particular fixed frame of mind. I believe you will be the best person to diffuse that and exactly tell what this qualification has to offer for them. And you did mention about the Cfa Sri Lanka Society, but once you qualify from Cfa, what benefits, what value additions does the Cfa Sri Lanka Society have to offer for these individuals? I would like to start off the forum with that question to you, Dinesh.
Thank you, Tarindu. It's my pleasure to be part of the panel today. So to answer your first question now, there are, as you correctly mentioned, there are many finance qualifications out there in the market. But Cfa is a qualification which stands out from the rest. It's a qualification entirely focused on the financial market. And as you know, the financial market is something which is very dynamic. So this is also reflected in the curriculum that is covered under the Cfa program. Now, unlike any other qualification, particularly the ones which I have done, the Cfa curriculum changes quite frequently in line with what are the developments in the market. And another strong focus of the Cfa qualification is the ethics and professional standards. So if you look at our curriculum, there's an entire section which is devoted to ethics and professional standards. Now, this is far more than what you would see in any other professional qualification in the finance related area. And if you look at our curriculum, you would see new topics being added from time to time. So some of the areas which are being covered in our curriculum are the ones which are still in the evolving stage. If you look at artificial intelligence, it's something which we are looking to cover in our curriculum, which is a recent addition. Then you'd have heard of the investment community's focus on the environment. So we have recently again added a section covering the environmental, social, and governance aspects in our curriculum. And in addition to this, some of the areas covered are essential for you to work in the financial industry, not only in the local context, but also in the global context. For example, derivatives, which can play an important role in risk management, is a key part of our curriculum, which you will not find in any other qualification. And in addition to these technical areas, the CFA qualification gives an overall grounding to the candidates on investment management. So it's something which prepares the candidates to go on to have successful careers as investment manager and wealth management. So it teaches you on investing across multiple asset categories, how to develop an investment plan for your customers, and then how to report your performance to your customers so that customers knows that you are achieving your objectives. So this is something in the financial industry, but the skills which you learn in the CFA program can be applied beyond the industry. Some of our charter holders have gone on to be very successful entrepreneurs, creating their own businesses. Some of these businesses have been obviously in the financial sector. And one good example is Equity Knowledge Partners, which was founded by a number of CFA charter holders. And I'm sure Chanakya would talk more about it in detail. And in addition to equity, there are other charter holders who have gone on to form their own asset management companies, as well as other businesses which are totally out of the financial area. And the skills they learned have enabled them to be successful in those chosen businesses, because we teach them the skills necessary to manage the risks as well as to invest the funds of those businesses. And in addition to the local market opportunities for CFA charter holders, there are immense opportunities for charter holders in foreign markets. Each year we have about 40 new charter holders coming, 40 new charter holders graduating. But we find that an equal number are migrating overseas due to the international recognition of our qualification. So this is another benefit the CFA program offers to potential candidates. Then going on to your second question, what the society does for charter holders beyond the qualification. So one important part of the CFA program is the continuing education aspect. So to help our charter holders fulfill this, we have organized a number of events throughout the year, which deliver a continuing professional education. And in addition, we offer the charter holders to help develop the capital markets in Sri Lanka. We have a number of events which include the Capital Markets Award Ceremony, a Sri Lankan Research Challenge, amongst others, which basically helps the financial industry in Sri Lanka to uplift the standard. So through these initiatives, the charter holders have an opportunity to play an important role in uplifting the financial markets in Sri Lanka. And in addition to that, as charter holders, we offer a few other benefits which ensure their recognition in the market and stand out from the rest of the industry. Over to you, Tarindu.
Thank you very much, Dinesh. I think you set the tone right for the rest of the discussion as well. Before I move on into the other speakers, I just need a quick word from you. I think you can keep it brief, this answer. A lot of people think that CFA is only for finance people, but what you're saying is that's not true. Am I right?
That's correct. So CFA gives you the right knowledge which can be applied in any industry and will help you succeed in those industries.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Dinesh, for clarifying that thought as well. Now, our next speaker is the Director for Society Relations at the Cfa Institute, who is none other than Ms. Aarti Porwal. Aarti is supporting the Cfa Society India and other South Asia societies in furthering their shared mission with the Cfa Institute. She is also responsible for developing and implementing the candidate and membership strategy in India, in addition to supporting the preparation providers. Before joining Cfa India, Aarti was the Senior Marketing Advisor at Enterprise Ireland, providing advisory services to Irish enterprises on Market 22 India. Aarti also led the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants operations in India for 5 years. Aarti has a bachelor's degree in physics from the Mumbai University and an MBA from Nasi Monji Institute of Management Studies. Aarti is also a certified life and leadership coach. Aarti, it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us this evening. Welcome to the forum.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be connected to you all from Mumbai. This is the silver lining of the pandemic and the virtual world.
Thank you, Aarti. Absolutely. And it's an absolute delight to have you as well. Aarti, I would like you to touch upon the global presence of CFA. And when you have that CFA designation, and when you have the backing of Cfa Institute behind you, what kind of a footing does it give you on a global stage? I think you'll be the best person to share this insight on this matter with us. So go ahead. The forum is all yours.
Thank you so much, Tarindu. So what I'll do is I'll take you through a little bit of our history of Cfa Institute, what we are about, and our global presence, as you have mentioned. That will give you a flavor of where we are currently and why we are so recognized globally in the investment management industry. The Cfa Institute per se is a global not-for-profit organization based in the United States of America. It's the world's largest association of investment management professionals and a global network that works with the investment management industry very closely with the regulators, the employers, as well as individuals in order to further our mission, which is to lead the investment management profession globally by promoting the highest standards of ethics, education, and professional excellence for the ultimate benefit of society. We take that part about the ultimate benefit of society very seriously, because what we want to do is build a profession that delivers the highest standards of professional excellence to the investors and the community at large. The industry, therefore, it's important for us to maintain the level of ethical education through the Cfa program, which Dinesh touched upon. And this will be more clearer to us as to our focus and why we are here when we look at the history. This is one of my favorite photographs. This is the photograph of the first Cfa program exam ever held, somewhere around 1963. But the institute per se goes back in time to about 1947, when a group of associations of investment management professionals in the United States came together and realized that for the trading and investment management profession to be actually considered a profession, there needs to be a proper professional qualification that defines and supports the education and entry of people into it. And that's how the Cfa Institute and the Cfa program was designed. Even to this day, the Cfa program is a program that is designed by practitioners, managed by practitioners, and assessed by practitioners. The Cfa program curriculum is totally evolved or revised also regularly through the inputs of investment management professionals across the world through a process that we call practice analysis. Every year, a part of the curriculum is revised, and for that, a number of investment management professionals globally are spoken to. Their contribution and their assessment and feedback is considered before the curriculum is revised to meet the needs of the current needs of the industry. That's how we make sure that the Cfa program is always relevant to the needs of the investment management industry, is aligned to practice, and is totally practice analytics and implementation oriented. It's not an academic qualification or just theoretical study. Today, after all these years, Cfa Institute has over 170,000 charter holders globally, and over 300,000 candidates take the various levels of the examinations all over the world every year. We have over 161 societies worldwide. These societies are nothing but the member associations which originally formed the institute in the first place. We have therefore a very rich history of associations and member societies like, say, Cfa Society Sri Lanka in Sri Lanka, which contribute to furthering our mission in the local geographies. We have over 25,000 firms that employ Cfa charter holders globally. Almost all the names in the investment management industry and in the financial services industry support the Cfa program qualification globally and have employed Cfa charter holders, whether it is Goldman Sachs or a BlackRock or a Franklin Templeton, any organization, or HSBC. All these organizations and banks and financial institutions which are involved in some way in investing others or their own monies have Cfa charter holders employed. We have over 550 affiliated universities. These are universities that have been selected by us through a rigorous affiliation program assessment. They are affiliated because a part of their curriculum is aligned to the Cfa program. Many of these affiliated universities recognize the Cfa program and offer waivers to Cfa program Cfa charter holders or candidates into their programs or through their programs. In more than 40 markets around the world, regulators in some form recognize the Cfa program as a credential required for entry into the various aspects of the investment management industry, or some of them have provide waivers again for examinations that need to be taken for entry into the investment management industry in their local markets. Some of these markets include, of course, Australia, markets in Europe, the Americas, and also in the Middle East. So apart from the Cfa program per se, the Cfa Institute also offers other credentials. The Cfa program is more focused on supporting investment decision-making and strategy in the investment management industry, which includes portfolio and wealth management, institutional investing, and investment analysis. It's a 3-exam program which also requires 4,000 hours of professional work experience to qualify as a Cfa charter holder. Typically, only 1 out of 5 or 6 people who start the journey through the Cfa program actually complete it and manage to acquire the Cfa designation. The CIPM program is a niche program that is typically taken by people after the Cfa program or people who are specifically in the performance management space of the investment management industry. People who are into investment performance and risk evaluation take up the CIPM program, and it's widely accepted as the gold standard program in that section of the industry. It covers areas such as risk management, manager search and selection, investment analysis, and client relations. The Investment Foundation Certificate, on the other hand, is a foundational program that the Cfa Institute created to support people who are not in the core of the industry but work in support functions in financial services firm or investment management industry firms. This program lays the foundation and provides an understanding of the industry, which helps them to know what they are working about or around. And also for those students who are unsure about whether the CFA program is meant for them or if the investment management industry is meant for them, the Investment Foundation certification is a good way of testing the waters for the industry as well as for the qualification before they step into completing it. So this is basically an overview of where we all are present, what we do, and how we have reached here, Tarindu. Happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aarti. I believe we will have lots of questions towards the end from some of the participants as well. Thank you very much for laying out the facts there, the level of recognition and acceptance that CFA is having globally. And I think the numbers speaks for themselves in terms of how many people have qualified and also the support ecosystem with a spiraling number of partners who are ready to support that. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts, Aarti.
Thank you.
Our third speaker of the forum is none other than Chanakya Disanayaka. Chanakya is the Senior Director and the Country Head for Sri Lanka and Global Head of Investment Research at Equity Knowledge Partners. Chanakya has been with Equity Knowledge Partners, formerly known as Moody's Analytics, Knowledge Services, Copal Amba and Amba Research, since the Colombo Delivery Center's inception in 2003. He is currently responsible for all aspects of research delivery and client relationship management for engagements serviced from Colombo and leads the global investment research practice. He was responsible for the Beijing Delivery Center's operations in 2015-16, focused on providing Mandarin language investment research support to global capital market clients. He led strategic initiatives for Copal Amba prior to its acquisition by Moody's, working closely with the senior leadership team in seeking, evaluating, and overseeing the implementation of growth initiatives. Chanakya has coverage experience in the financial institutions and telecommunications sector, and he is a CFA Charterholder, a fellow member of ACCA UK and CIMA UK. Chanakya, welcome to the forum. And I would like to ask from you, from the employer perspective. Now, we heard from the qualifications perspective earlier, but from an employer's perspective, what does the CFA designation actually carry? If a particular financial graduate goes with the CFA qualification, with the CFA designation under their belt as well, or below their name, as they say, what kind of a perception advantage can they expect in the corporate workplace? Over to you, Chanakya.
Thank you very much, Tarindu, and thank you very much, Dinesh, Aarti, and the team for having me. I'm very proud to represent Equity Knowledge Partners in this session with potential, future CFA charterholders in Sri Lanka as the largest employer of CFAs in Sri Lanka. So a little bit of history and background. Equity Knowledge Partners, or previously known as Moody's, the Knowledge Analytics Knowledge Services, or in Sri Lanka we started as Amba Research. We have a rich history operating in Colombo and recruiting CFA charterholders. Our firm right now is the largest player in the industry with almost 3,500 analysts seated in Colombo, India, Beijing in China, and Costa Rica in serving the global investment research industry, investment banks, asset management firms, and other financial institutions in equity research, fixed income research, private equity, investment banking, corporate finance support, and credit analysis and fixed income instrument coverage. That's our background here in Sri Lanka. I'm very proud to say over the years, almost 40% of all CFAs in Sri Lanka have at one point worked with us. If you go back to 2003, I'm very proud to say that even though we are a global company now, the largest in the world in our industry, we started here in Sri Lanka in 2003 by 4 former managing directors of research from Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Deutsche Bank coming over to here in Sri Lanka and starting the firm. Now, what brought them to Colombo? Interestingly, it is the prevalence of the Cfa program at a very high degree of acceptance, even back in 2003, that attracted them to Colombo to open the very first center to serve the Wall Street and London-based investment banks. Because even back then, thanks to the USAID program in the mid-1990s, Cfa had a very strong regional presence in Colombo. And we had Cfa Charterholders gaining experience working in the local capital market, as well as going abroad and working with the foreign financial institutions. And that brought the Amber Research founders to Colombo. So Cfa had a huge role in the founding of our company also here in Sri Lanka. Just a quick overview. I mean, what do I find unique in the Cfa qualification? Cfa qualification, in my opinion, is the most in-depth postgraduate qualification that is relevant for capital markets, right? Whether you are in equity research, whether you are in investment banking, whether you are in corporate finance, or whether you are in fixed income trading, Cfa program's 3-year curriculum gives you an in-depth practitioner level competency in company stock analysis, fixed income and bond analysis, derivatives analysis, portfolio management, and other corporate finance related topics. Not only that, as Dinesh pointed out, this is a curriculum that undergoes significant review and update every few years. I know that process firsthand because for 7 years I volunteered as an exam grader in Charlottesville for the Cfa level 3 exams, and have seen the amount of effort, amount of global best practice codification that goes into the program every year and to the exam setting process. For example, Cfa, to my knowledge, is perhaps the only practitioner qualification capital market with so much of coverage on data science, emerging new topics in investing, alternate data analysis, and then more recent topics including environmental and social governance theme-driven investments and all. And more than anything, all of this is combined together with almost 1/3 of the curriculum focusing on ethics in capital markets. Because as the practitioners would tell you, capital markets run on trust. Capital markets run on ethics. The moment the general public loses confidence in capital markets and its players, entire global financial system will basically cease to exist. So that's the reason why Cfa Institute for the past 3 to 4 decades have taken a specific interest in establishing the higher standards for ethical behavior in capital markets. So that is also something employers, including us, really value in the Cfa program. We are a firm that not only promotes Cfa, we fund exam fees, we fund membership fees, we provide exam leave, and we actively promote everyone who is coming for fundamental research jobs, whether it's equity research or fixed income research within our firm, to prioritize their Cfa education. Then, in terms of Sri Lanka's career opportunities, we have a small but a rapidly growing capital market in both equities and fixed incomes. As you know, even in a pandemic situation, the country has seen number of IPOs during the past few months. Stock market indices are almost 100% up from last May. And you see a lot more companies also coming into IPOs, leading blue chip banks raising almost 9 to 10 billion rupees in secondary market issuances in one go, and so much of very vibrant capital market activity. Next week, I believe, will be the week where Sri Lankan government, BOI, and the Colombo Stock Exchange will be holding a Sri Lanka investor forum, which is basically the apex event for investors looking into Sri Lanka. So those of you who who are interested in capital markets attending this session, I highly encourage you all to listen into those sessions, listen into the themes that are forming in the capital markets to further your career. Then outside capital markets, our CFA charterholder community has found very interesting opportunities. Some of them are running their own private wealth management firms. Some of them are leading corporate finance teams within the Sri Lanka's conglomerate sector, seeking acquisitions, driving divestment decisions, and in overall optimizing those group companies' long-term returns and the risk profiles on behalf of the shareholders. Some of our CFA charterholders work for regulators like Securities and Exchange Commission, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, etc. And of course, some of the charterholders are basically running their own independent research practices, advising corporates as well as high net worth individuals on a complete zero conflict of interest basis with the rest of the capital markets, providing a pure investment advising and a research role. So these are the interesting career opportunities. We are a community where we have significant amount of expat Sri Lanka origin CFA charterholders working in the developed capital markets all over, from New York to London to Singapore to Hong Kong and to Sydney. So we are a globally network community, even though some of us got the qualification based out of Colombo. So that's basically the overview of the opportunities. And once again, I highly encourage all of you, if you are interested in capital markets, interested in analytical career, to consider doing the CFA program as your next step after you complete your undergraduate education or your chartered accounting qualifications. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Chanakya, for those thoughts. Now, I have a question for you personally, especially since I also saw that you have a CIMA background and a ACCA background as well. So, with CIMA and ACCA already in the bag, when you went on to CFA, what added skill, what new competency do you think, Chanakya, that you were able to get? Because there are a lot of CIMA and ACCA background students who are wondering, should I make that cut or not? Should I make that leap or not? What is your advice?
So first thing that I realize is that how different it is that an investor looks at a company versus how an accountant or a management accountant looks at a company. Even how the CFA in the level 1 taught us the basic financial statement analysis. It was obviously very much the basics based on what we learned from CIMA and ACCA back then. But the perspective, the interpretation, how it is used was completely different. CFA teaches you, especially in the equity research components, to look at financial ratios from a very forward-looking objective, from looking across the industry benchmarking perspective, as opposed to looking the backward-looking story of the company and looking it more from an internal stakeholder perspective. So those were I would say, the main mindset changes that I went through. But it was a very nice extension. Lots of the things that I learned, especially in the ACCA financial reporting modules, was quite complementary when I studied issues related to quality of earnings determination, etc. back then in the CFA program.
Thank you very much, Chanakya, for sharing your thoughts. We will come back to you later with some questions from the attendees as well. Our next speaker is Travis Gomez, who is a CFA charter holder, and he is the director of the Cfa Society Sri Lanka and chairs the Cfa Society Sri Lanka's Candidate Council. Travis currently manages Frontier's news curation products, which is responsible for the delivery of Frontier's brand of business-friendly and time-efficient newsletters and other information products. He manages a team of news curators who work remotely and responsible for the compilation and dissemination of the Time Twister, Frontier's flagship daily newsletter, specializing in economic and finance news in Sri Lanka, for which Travis was instrumental in its creation. He is also the academic staff, or he's also a member of the academic staff of a number of education institutes, where he lectures undergraduate students in subjects of economics and finance, as well as in the preparatory sessions for level 1 of the CFA program. Travis, it's an absolute pleasure to have you joining today. Now, Travis is going to speak about a very important aspect of getting started, because they always say the journey of 1,000 miles always starts with a few steps. What are those few initial steps that anybody who is watching this webinar needs to make, needs to take, needs to trot on so that they could get started with their CFA? Let's hear about that from an expert on that topic, who is none other than Travis Gomez. Travis, I believe you are with us.
Yeah, thanks very much, Tarindu, for the introduction. If you mind, I would like to share my screen just to take you through, because I think I'm seeing in the comments as well, I think some of you all have some specific issues, specific questions you want to clarify with regard to the CFA program. I think you've already heard from Dinesh and Chanakya talking about the NRT, about the value of the program and sort of like what it represents. So I'd like to take you through some of the high level, sort of the key things to keep in mind when going through the program. So let me just share my screen with you now. So really, to answer Tarindu's question as well, I mean, it's really, it really comes down to your sort of like, in terms of what is your objective, in terms of what you feel the value addition would be of this program. And as Chanakya also said, it will be very different from, some of you might be coming from an accounting or management accounting background, but really the value add of the CFA program can be very different. And, even if you're someone who is from outside of the field, someone who's done something completely different, if you're interested in getting into the finance industry, or just in terms of if you're like entrepreneurial, there's a lot of like value add that you can get from doing the CFA program. So really it just comes down to, your interest and your commitment to put into mastering this program. So at a high level, I would say this is the sort of the steps you need to follow to end up becoming a charter holder. So really, I think some of you may already actually meet even some of the work experience requirements. So what is required is you need 4,000 hours. So that's about a minimum, which is a minimum, comes to a minimum of 3 years of qualified work experience that you need. So some of you may already actually meet this criteria already. So really the main focus for you all would be getting through the CFA exams. So this is what's called the CFA program. So the way the CFA program is structured is there are 3 levels of the program, basically culminating in 3 exams that you need to get through. So once you have completed that, once you have completed the CFA program, then you are basically eligible. And once you have met the work experience requirements, which I saw there was a question that came in on the Q&A as well, that in order to apply for the charter, what you would require is 4,000 hours of what's called qualified work experience. So basically something that is relevant to the investment making decision. There is a list of details on that, and we will be sharing with you after the session a detailed booklet that the CFA Candidate Council, which is part of the CFA Society Sri Lanka, that is looking after the interests of the candidates. We will be sharing that comprehensive document where you can get all those specific details. But basically, you need 4,000 hours of relevant work experience, and then you get you need a couple of references, as well as once you have met all those membership requirements, then you can apply for your charter. So that's really the full sort of the journey that you need to go through for this. So really, I think most of you over here, I think the main requirement you would have to meet is the CFA exams. So just to take you through at a high level, what does the program entail? Yeah. So as as Dinesh also mentioned, really at the heart of the CFA program is really the focus on ethics and professional standards. So really the way the curriculum is also built, it's really built around it. So if you look at sort of like the subject area weightings that are given, really at the level 1 exam, ethics is one of the most significant areas, and that kind of continues throughout the level, throughout the CFA program. So really everything is sort of like comes from that core of the ethics and professional standards. And then going into a bit more detail, at level 1, what you'll really be learning is about those different investment tools for analysis. You're drawing from economics or from, financial analysis, from corporate finance, from different disciplines. You'll be getting like a well-rounded sort of sort of view of the different tool sets, the skills that you will need to conduct that investment analysis, portfolio management type of roles that you might end up doing. One thing to stress with the CFA program is it's really meant as a generalist program. So even if you're someone who is coming from outside of the finance industry, maybe you've never done accounting or maybe never done economics, what I can tell you about the CFA curriculum and the program booklet, the CFA, the material that is part of the CFA program, is it's very comprehensive. So, even if you're someone who's never done these subjects in your life, it's something very easy for you to pick up. It's very comprehensive. It doesn't assume that you have any of that prior knowledge. So that makes it very, so that makes this program very accessible. Then level 2 is where you really go into more detail into those specific asset classes. So here in Sri Lanka, we might be already familiar with things like equity, fixed income. So this is really where you hone those skills and really go into depth about those different aspects of it. And as Dinesh also mentioned, really this program is a global program. So it's not just aimed at someone who might be working in Sri Lanka, where the sort of like the universe of asset classes is more limited. They're really thinking from a global perspective. So in level 2, you'll be going into very much into depth into some of these assets that maybe not as familiar with here, like derivatives or alternative investments. So level 2 is where you develop that competency. And finally, level 3 is where you sort of bring it all together and, where you really get into sort of making those hard decisions, how when it comes to advising those your clients in terms of the portfolio allocations, your wealth planning. So that's really the focus of level 3. So you get a well-rounded view of the finance industry and the different topics around it by the time you're done with your journey in the CFA program. So to get started, really this is what you need. So you need to have, so there are like really 2 paths you can take to enroll. So one is you need to have a bachelor's degree. You have either to have completed it, or you can also, if you're in the penultimate year of the program, of your bachelor's program, you can also get started with the level 1 of the program. Or if you've done some equivalent program, another professional qualification, which is of equivalent standard, you can also use that to enroll to the CFA program. The other route you can take is, if you don't meet these criteria, you can also get in with professional work experience. Again, you need 4,000 hours. So this has to be something that is specific. This doesn't have to be something specific to the finance industry. This doesn't have to be qualified work. This can be, you can be from any industry, whether you've been worked previously as a lawyer or an engineer, where we have a number of charter holders who come from that background. You can follow that path as well. So as long as you meet 4,000 hours, which is roughly about minimum of 3 years of work experience, you can also start on this, the CFA program journey. Another development that has happened is in terms of when you can take the exams. So prior to 2021, all of the exams were administered as paper-based testing, where level 1 exam was offered 2 times a year, and the level 2 and level 3 exam was offered once a year. Given the sort of the changes that have been happening, one thing that the Cfa Institute has decided to accelerate on is with regard to its shift to the computer-based testing. So from this year onwards, all the exams are being conducted as computer-based testing. So, this was not something that was done haphazardly, in response to COVID. This was something that was a long time coming in terms of the planning of the CFA program. And really the focus was to make it more sort of like more relevant to and make it very applicable to the work experience, sort of the environment that you're typically working in. So because of that, there's been this switch to the computer-based testing. The other really benefit of that is also that the exams are now being offered more frequently, and there's much more flexibility, because what the program also understands is that a lot of people who do the CFA program are working full time. It might be hard to get time off and things like that. So now it has been made much more flexible, where you have up to about 10 days on which you can schedule your exam at each given exam window. And also it is being offered more frequently in a given year. So level 1 is now offered 4 times a year, while level 2 and 3 is offered 2 times a year. So that also makes it very flexible in terms of your planning in terms of undertaking this exam. I think another related benefit of this is also because now the exam is happening in this sort of like more decentralized way. Under the current circumstances also, that means that they are able to conduct the exam in a more sort of like safer environment, more socially distanced, and with fewer number of participants. So that's some of the added benefits of this shift towards the computer-based testing. Then I guess something that a lot of you might also be concerned about is in terms of the pricing of the exam. So this is how it is structured as of now. So when you register for the program for the first time, there is this one-time enrollment fee that you have to pay. And after that, there is the fee that you have as you take each of those exams. So one thing good about the program, again, is there is no sort of like a set time period between which you need to complete the exam. So for instance, you can take the level 1 exam and say you need to take a break for a couple of years and you want to come back to do the level 2 exam. That is perfectly fine. You can do that. So the program is very flexible in terms of how you can take the exam. And another thing to also emphasize is that this is really the only expense that you need. You don't need to, register with a particular institute or, to go for, exam related classes and stuff like that. This is all you really need, because the program is structured as a self-study program. So once you pay the fees, which goes directly to the CFA Institute, the CFA Institute will send you all the material that you need to prepare for it in terms of the curriculum, the detailed study text, the other sort of resources that are made available to you. And really, that is the only resource that you need. It's a very comprehensive curriculum that you get. And, the testing and everything is based off of that. So this is really all the fees that you need in terms of the expense of the program. But of course, if you're having financial difficulties, the CFA Institute also does offer some scholarships. So there are those that are aimed at students. And for most of you professionals, there's also the Access Scholarship that you might consider, which gives you a reduction on the exam fees. So there is a process involved in that. And in Sri Lanka, typically in a year, there's about 50 or so candidates do take advantage of these the scholarships that are offered by that. So would encourage you to check out the details of those as well. In terms of the time needed to prepare for this, I think Aarti had mentioned sort of like the rigor of the program, and in terms of the pass marks and things for the exam. And really, I'm putting this up not to really scare you, but just to sort of like to indicate the sort of like this sort of signals the level of depth and the sort of the commitment really that you need to put into this program. It is a very flexible program. But it is a very comprehensive program at the same time. So this is based on some of the surveys that the CFA Institute has done. On average, you need about 300 hours for successful candidates for each level of the exam. So just something to keep in mind. And really, the other thing to also consider at the same time is, given that you might be time constrained in terms of you might be working full time, you might be having other commitments, a crucial decision to really make is in terms of what are the sort of resources do you want to use to prepare effectively for this program. Because really, I would say it's not really about the hours, it's really how you go about preparing for the exam. To put it in simple terms, what you want is to study smart. That's really what you should focus on. So just to give you a guide on that, these are again from that same survey. These are some of the different resources that the candidates have said they've used in terms of preparing for the exam. So as I said, given that the CFA program is structured as a self-study program, most people use the curriculum, and really that is the most comprehensive document, the content that you have, and that's really the only source that you need. So most are using that. But there are other sort of prep providers who also have their own learning materials. If you prefer to, learn through like videos in the form of webinars, as well as if you want to like practice questions and things like that. There are some other options that are available in the market from other prep providers that you can also consider. An initiative we do at the CFA Society Sri Lanka itself, given that we place a lot of emphasis on developing the candidates and supporting the candidates, is the Candidate Council. So this is a specific initiative by the CFA Society Sri Lanka, where our objective is really just to help the candidates in terms of in their CFA program journey, to give them some support in terms of the exams, as well as to sort of help with you in terms of that networking, to build that closer relationship between the candidates and the broader society and the program as a whole. So just to highlight some of the things that the Candidate Council regularly does. So we have a number of sessions that are aimed at helping candidates with their exam prep. So again, we're very much aiming at candidates who are preparing for this exam on their own, self-studying. And really, these are some extra help that we can offer, where we've identified there are some maybe certain topics in the curriculum that candidates might struggle with. So we have these masterclass sessions, we have different exam prep sessions to help you with that. So most of them are being done as webinars, where we also make the recordings could be made available later on. So it's a very flexible sort of program as well. So it's something, taking into account your work schedules and things like that. So these are some of the specific exam related help that we're offering, as well as there's a couple of networking opportunities and other volunteering opportunities that you get as being a part of our Candidate Council initiative. And as I was saying, these are some of the specific topics that we have done in the past. And now, given that we have now moved fully to the webinar format, and with our ability to sort of record these sessions as well, we are able to offer much more variety and a whole lot of new topics as well. We're very much sort of like building up this library of exam prep related content. So really there's a very big value addition that we offer to our Candidate Council members. Another benefit that you can take advantage of is we have also negotiated very deep discounts with some of the popular prep providers globally that are offering these different prep services for candidates of the CFA program. So we've negotiated some very steep discounts from them. So this is also an exclusive benefit to our Candidate Council members. Another benefit that we recently obtained is in partnership with HNB Bank. Again, if you're someone who is struggling with or having some financial difficulty with the exam fees and things like that, we also have this arrangement where you can convert it into a 0% installment plan, the exam fees. So this is another really good benefit you can take advantage of. And finally, just to highlight some, so really, I would really encourage everyone to sort of to follow the candidate council, and if you can, and if you to consider like joining us. And really, this is the best way to sort of keep up to date with our different events, as well as the keep up to date with a lot of the developments that are happening in the CFA program. Currently, given the sort of the uncertain environment we are in right now, there's a lot of uncertainty with regard to some of the exam related queries and things like that. So really, we are there to support you on those, and to answer any questions, to support you as much as we can on that front. So would encourage everyone to make the maximum use of that, and really to say that you're not alone in this journey. Given that the program is a self-study program, sometimes it can feel that it's a sort of like a very lonely sort of endeavor to studying for the program and things like that, but really that's why we've created this. So you can think of the candidate council as kind of like your support network to help you with your CFA program journey. So if you are interested in taking the CFA program, if you're strongly considering it, I would encourage you to visit this site. So you can just use your phone to scan this code, where there is this readiness assessment on the CFA Institute website, which you can take, which would give you sort of like an indicator of whether are you in the right mindset really to take on the program. So with that, I'd like to conclude my presentation, and would be happy to answer any further questions that you have on this. And as I said, we would be, for the participants, we will be, I believe, emailing you later a comprehensive document that the CFA Candidate Council has put together, which has all of the specific details relating to the CFA program, which would answer most of your questions. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Travis. Thank you for those wonderful information that you shared, and I think you made it very clear in terms of the qualification, the preparation, and the support given. It's always good to see the amount of support that students are getting when they decide to follow a qualification, and it's great to see this entire CFA community, not just Education Institute, but the entire community being behind them. There is a question being raised about how does, I believe maybe Chanakya could take on this one, how CFA is contributing towards raising the ethical standards of capital market professionals in Sri Lanka. Chanakya, would you like to take on this? I think the question is, as a society, what does CFA do towards enhancing the level of credibility and towards enhancing the standards of ethics among the capital market professionals in Sri Lanka?
Sure. So, I mean, not only in Sri Lanka, but throughout the emerging markets, regulators actually work very closely with the CFA Institute and the local societies in setting up the ethical standards and the regulatory best practices in the respective capital markets. So here in Sri Lanka also, the CFA society takes up a huge advocacy role and reinforces the global best practices when it comes to ethical standards, whether it is related to corporate reporting, minority shareholder protection, ethical behavior in the capital markets and the asset management industry, including performance reporting, accurate, non-misleading performance reporting. The CFA Institute as well as the charter community takes a huge role in establishing and continuing with very high levels of ethical standards.
Thank you, Chanakya. Thank you for those thoughts. Yes, if there are any questions, I believe this is the opportunity for our participants to raise them. You can send it via the chat, or you can even send it via you can send it via the Q&A forum as well. There's a question raised regarding this is exam preparation. In one way, one might say this is a more straightforward one, but it's also those who are facing the exam will only know how tough this is. I think, Travis, you could take on this question. It's about how, while you're busy with all the day-to-day work as being a professional, and now people are staying at home, they have to balance the work, the family, the children, everything. Amidst all this, how challenging is it to really sit for the CFA qualification? Travis, I think that's a question for you.
Yeah, so like I said in the presentation, really it's about you really finding that discipline to set aside that time to prepare for the exam, because speaking from like personal experience as well, so I lecture on a number of undergraduate programs as well, and what I find is when it comes to those programs, typically given sort of like certain students, it's something they would sort of rush last minute, maybe in the last month. They would sort of like it's some where you can maybe like rush and get through and maybe get through the exam. But when it comes to the CFA program, you really need a long-term plan for it, because if you look at the exam the syllabus content, so if you take level 1, there are 10 topic areas that you need to cover, and where you go into quite a large number. It's very, it has a wide breadth that is covered, as well as you advance in the program, you go into much more depth into the program. So really, having that discipline, making sure that every day or you set aside some time to prepare for the program. I think that is very important from the onset itself. It's something you need to have a very clear study plan to prepare for it. And the CFA Institute also offers a lot of tools for this. So there's a lot of new digital tools that have been rolled out as well, since many more people are now studying distantly and self-studying. So there's a lot of new benefits that the Institute has also been providing on this. For example, one thing is they offer you like a study planner, which tells you, how many sort of weeks you need to denote for each particular topic within each module. So really, I would say, because looking at like the pass rates and things like that, you might be a bit, hesitant to take on the exam. But really, I would say, if you have that discipline, if you sort of put in the effort for it, it's something very manageable, I would say.
Thank you, Travis. Also, we have a question from Mohammed Narzouk. He wants to know whether he's currently working for a bank as a management reporting analyst, and whether that the experience he gets from that would be counted as a part of the experience required to get the charter.
Yes. So so there is a list of sort of like the work roles that are considered as qualified work experience. So yes, so anything that is relevant around the investment decision making process. So if you're working in like corporate finance, if you're relating something like the situation you said, it should be applicable. I will share on the chat some of the details of that as well. So there is on the CFA website, once you have completed the program and you're looking to apply for the charter, there will be a list of sort of job roles that you can that is considered as that will come under this qualified work experience. So I will share those details on the chat with you, and it's also available in the program booklet that we share as well.
Thank you very much, Travis. We have a question from Imran Furkan asking about, from a student's perspective, what would be the career entry point for someone who is starting on the CFA qualification? I believe, Dinesh, you'll be able to take that one.
Hi, Tarindo.
Hi, Dinesh.
Yeah.
There's a question raised. The career entry points for somebody who is planning on taking the CFA qualification, what would be a career entry point for somebody who is starting on the CFA qualification?
Yeah, so I think there are a number of options. So if you are looking in a financial markets type position, then the obvious career entry point would be an analyst position in a stock brokering company, investment bank, or even a company like Equity Knowledge Partners.
Understood. And I think maybe Aarti could chip in on this question, whether the online exams, now CFA also going down the path of online exams. I mean, it's inevitable given the pandemic situation and the frequent lockdowns we are facing, etc. I believe it's the inevitable. But will the online exams being of a CFA reduce the value of the title? I think that's a bit of a serious question being raised. Maybe we could have multiple panelists commenting on that question.
Thanks for the question, Tarindu. I think the movement to online testing or computer-based testing was absolutely imperative in the current circumstances. With the movement to technology and as well as the situation in terms of the pandemic. While moving the exams to computer-based testing, the Cfa Institute has ensured that the rigor of the examination is not compromised in any manner, nor is the quality of the examination process. A lot of psychometric tests were conducted, and it was realized that when you are doing computer-based testing, the number of questions that is required or the number of hours of testing is not necessarily directly proportional to the rigor or the quality of the exam. And that sufficient number of questions that can to be included in the examination can be reduced. And that's why the duration of the examination and the number of questions were reduced. But neither has the format of the paper, nor is the examination process, or nor is the process of evaluation, neither or the process of evaluation been compromised. And as you can see from the pass rates of the first exam, computer-based testing will be coming out soon, and then it will be, work released in fact recently, and you will see that the pass rates are not significantly different from paper-based testing.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Aarti. Okay. So we have a question whether CFA qualification provides certain exemptions from some universities if someone is considering doing a PhD in finance. Aarti, I believe you'll have first-hand experience on commenting on this matter.
Per se, the qualification, the Cfa program by NARIC and all is considered as a postgraduate qualification. But the requirement for PhD varies from universities to university. It depends on the university whether it considers it. But if you look at the affiliated universities and a number of them, qualification for PhD Cfa program may be considered as a qualification for PhD. But that again depends on the university. It depends upon this area of research that you're undertaking to do your PhD. And of course, it depends on what is their eligibility criteria per se. In terms of a number of, if you look at the waiver list of universities on our website, which you can find, you will find that many of them do offer waivers definitely and credits for postgraduate programs.
Thank you very much. Thank you. With no further questions being shared by our participants, I think this is the apt time to give all our panelists a 1 minute time period to make their concluding remarks, after which I will hand over the controls back to Aruna. Can we start with Aarti?
Thank you, Tarindu. Firstly, I would like to say that it's been a pleasure to address the audience, and thank you so much for participating. I would again like to reiterate what I mentioned earlier, that the Cfa Institute is a global institution that is dedicated to establishing the highest standards of ethics, education, and excellence across for the ultimate benefit of society in all the markets that we exist around the globe. Our societies support us in implementing our mission in their local geographies. Our focus on ethics is visible through our stringent curriculum, focus on curriculum or on ethics in our curriculum, as has been pointed out by various participants. Our focus on ethics and professional conduct is visible through the standards of practice and professional code of conduct that governs our candidates as well as our members. And our focus on ethics and professional conduct is visible from the implementation of the code of conduct across the globe. We have a strong disciplinary review process and a committee which monitors the behavior of our, proactively monitors the behavior and conduct of our members globally and supports the implementation of the standards of practice and code of conduct. Beyond governing our candidates and members, our asset management code, managers code, and GIPS, that is the Global Investment Performance Standards, help the investment management industry globally in setting these standards and having guidelines for performance for the industry per se. The AMC and GIPS standards have been accepted by regulators globally in many markets as the standard for the profession and the industry to function, and have been adopted or implemented in various forms by firms as well as regulators globally. The institute is constantly strives to and works very closely with regulators, industry, etc., to improve the profession, the industry, to improve the talent pool for the industry, and to create an industry which has developed continuously is on the process of market integrity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Aarti. Over to you, Chanakya, for your concluding thoughts.
Yeah, so I mean, the concluding thought from my end is that my own involvement with CFA now goes back almost to 17, 18 years, and as well as an employer who prioritize CFA charter holders for capital market jobs that we have. CFA qualification has only become more relevant for us over the years. It is extremely updated with the best practices, and specifically for a undergraduate who is based in an emerging market or a frontier market, keen to learn about financial instruments and capital market norms in the developed world, there is no better qualification than CFA. CFA is the ultimate passport to global capital market careers. I would end there.
Thank you very much, Chanakya. Travis?
Hi. Yeah, just to reiterate, I think what a lot of the other speakers had said. I think by the end of this session, I think you got a good understanding that, you know, this CFA program, I think there's a lot of myths created around it, that, you know, it's something very difficult or that it's something only for finance professionals. But really, you know, if you have a passion for this, if I hope we have outlined sort of the value add this can do in terms of like your professional development and your career. So I would really encourage anyone to undertake this journey. And as I had reiterated, you know, this is it's structured as a self-learning program, and that it's something that is very flexible. So really, it's something that you can balance along with your full-time work and other sort of commitments that you have. It's something that is very feasible to do. And we as the CFA Society, through initiatives like the Candidate Council, we are here to support you in any way we can. So would really encourage anyone who is considering this to continue on this journey. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Travis. Dinesh?
You're on mute, Dinesh.
I would like to thank everyone for joining the webinar today, and the panelists for taking time to share their thoughts and experience with the participants. I echo the sentiments of the panelists, and CFA Society Sri Lanka is working very closely with the regulators in Sri Lanka, in particular the Securities Exchange Commission, the Colombo Stock Exchange, to develop the local capital markets to support the country's drive for development. So I would like to invite the participants today to be part of the CFA program and join us in this journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dinesh, and a big thank you to all the participants of the webinar, both the panelists as well as the attendees. And with that, I would like to now hand over the controls back to Aruna. And once again, have a wonderful evening. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to be the moderator of this wonderful webinar. Aruna, over to you.
Tarindu, thank you very much for moderating the session. So on behalf of Cfa Society Sri Lanka, I would like to thank all our speakers and the panelists today, starting from Dinesh, and then Chanakya Disanaika from Equity Knowledge Partners, which is an international firm. Then we had Arati joining from all the way from Cfa Institute, and Travis Gomes, who has been always supporting our students, joining today. And Tarindu, of course, despite the busy schedule, joining as a moderator and conducting the moderation session excellently. I also take the opportunity to thank once again all our sponsors, Colombo Stock Exchange, Equity Brokers, Capital Alliance, and of course, we had our supporting partners as ACCA, British Computer Society, ISACA, FITIS, and SLASCO. And in fact, this is the first program of the series, Global Network, joining the global network of CFA Charterholders. So we continue to have these similar sessions, and I'm sure if someone is missed today's program, we'll have the opportunity of joining in our future programs. As the panel mentioned, we are very keen to position the CFA, the brand within Sri Lanka as an investment profession and also the finance professionals. So with that, I would also like to thank the staff, Unita and Sanduni, for putting together a program and organizing the program. And also I would like to thank the Srinath Impact Labs of our digital media company. So with that, I would like to thank everyone, thank all the participants joining today, and wish everyone stay safe and healthy. Thank you very much, and hope to talk to you very soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.